Back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham there, Joe Brazil there. I'm Kyle Madsen, hanging out with you till noon. Are the Kings done making moves? Do we think, because we've talked about, another point guard. Like, oh, maybe it's Mason Jones, and maybe it'll be Malik Monk and Dennis Schroeder. Okay, but what about Russell Westbrook? What about Ben Simmons? The Jonathan Kaminga thing dead?
I don't think they're...
I think the Kaminga thing might be dead.
I don't think they're 100% done, but I think they're at a point where something has to move pretty dramatically for them to change the look of the roster. I could see them doing one more small signing or something.
Yeah.
But again, cap space wise, they're kind of up against it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this, when you're calculating things like luxury tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
The weird thing about it is that you have to include some of the bonus money. So I think Domas has $2.6 million in bonus money that you have to count towards the luxury tax. And the luxury tax isn't done until the end of the year.
Mm.
And that's when it's actually calculated. But for using things like your mid-level exception,
you budget as though everybody's going to hit their maximum amount of incentives.
Exactly. Okay. So as of right now, they're only a couple of million under the luxury tax. And that's why you do a move like the Dario Saric move. So someone asked earlier about, what is it the Kings should, let's see, we had this here. JV Denver Kings trade was a cash dump, but seems kind of odd to do that where there was a deal with Russ original. So yeah, the Kings would have liked to have signed Russell Westbrook, but again, it would have taken more than clearing up a little bit of space there to sign Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason to sign Russell Westbrook when you have Dennis Schroeder and Malik Monk on the roster. There's just no room for those two. And then when you look at Zach LaVine and Keon Ellis at the shooting guard position, you're already looking like, where are we going to play Devin Carter at all?
Mm.
Right? So if you were to add Russ, it just complicates matters even more. Now, if you were to change the equation and somehow you're able to trade Malik Monk and bring back a forward, now it looks totally different and you would go right out. But you still have to clear the luxury tax space in order to do any of these deals. And so some people are like, well, why did you do all this maneuvering and you still have your mid-level exception? It's like, well, hold tight, people, because the mid-level can be used all the way up until, the day of the trade deadline. You can use it the whole time. So you might as well hold on to it and
flexibility, baby.
Well,
optionality.
I know that doesn't sound great to people.
It doesn't. I get it. I understand it. I totally get why you do that.
Yeah.
But man, it's frustrating.
No, I totally understand that. But again, when you're talking about 3-team trades and stuff, it gets really complicated. And sometimes you need to be able to send out, if you can send out, you accept a player into your mid-level exception in a trade, a 14-point-something million player, but then that player gets rerouted to another team for a player that's more expensive. Now you can see how that thing can work, right? And the Kings are going to have to clear space if they're going to make any sizable move anyways, whether that means that you trade, a player like DeMar or a player like Malik Monk straight up for another player. But even in those scenarios, you have this ability to take in more more salary in a trade. So if you're under a certain amount of dollars, you can take back up to 7.5 million more.
Okay.
Right. So that means that if you trade, let's say Malik Monk at 18 million, you can go all the way up to a $25.5 million player. Right. But that money that you're taking back is still going to push you above the luxury tax. So that's why you do a preemptive move with the JV for Saric move. It does a couple of things. Number one, it saves you $5 million. So you have more cap flexibility. But number two, it also opens a door where you can, again, sign a player like Drew Eubanks, and then it could open a door where Maxime Reynaud could get to play down the road because you freed up the spot, as opposed to again, Jonas Valanciunas playing 82 games as a backup center and Reno never getting on the floor once his entire rookie season.
Right.
So yeah, you took a step back as far as like quality at the position, but you opened the door to have better quality and flexibility down the road.
Sure. All of that to say there's not some big signing happening.
No, there's
Like
nothing
that.
like on the burner right now.
Yeah.
But like certainly the Kings are still fully interested in a Kaminga deal. They just
There would have to be an additional move with that. So right. So let's just to go back and rehash this.
yeah.
If the Kings want to take on Kaminga, they have to sign him to agree to a contract with him that he is amenable to.
Yes.
Let's call it, for ease of math, I'm going to call it $26 million a year.
Okay, that's a little high, but go ahead.
But I think it's probably what he's looking for.
Yeah. I mean, he wants
Something in
between
that range.
25 and 30. That was the early word.
So we'll say 26. So the Kings would be taking on 26, but because of base year compensation, the Warriors can only take back 13.
Well, I believe the way it works out is they can take back half, but it's half plus the buffer. So they can take back more.
Okay.
Right? So
but not like a lot more.
No, but like this 7 million more. So yeah, that's why we hear like that a trade would work for Monk straight up, right? They could work out a deal where again you pay him X amount of money and then his money gets cut in half, but then as long as that half money is within the parameters of the salary matching for a trade,
Lord,
then you're okay. Got me?
Sure.
But the Kings again would be taking on a certain amount of money, and the Warriors, the money going out for them is 26 million. The money coming in has to be half plus, some variable there.
Sure.
But it just like complicates matters greatly. So like, look, the Kings could probably. It's not just. It's Kaminga's money for the starter. Like, what does Kaminga want, and what is realistic? Like, if it's a 4-year 80, I think the Kings are like, okay, we're in.
Yeah,
right? Because
sure.
you can get to 4-year 80 like very quickly. That's why we heard like the Dario Saric and Devin Carter trade, right? Because that's like 11 million bucks in salary. Now, if you start bumping up into some of these other players, it gets more and more expensive. But even if you did that trade and you gave up Saric and you gave up Devin Carter, you're still taking back like $9 million in additional salary that's going to push you into the luxury tax. So then the Kings have to go back and find a new way to alleviate some of that stress. And so, yeah, it's going to be complicated no matter what. But I mean, that's why the league has had 7 different champions in 7 years, because the salary cap is restrictive and it really does hit teams in weird ways. And that's why you have to be super cautious when you're looking at what you want to pay Keon Ellis down the road, what you want to pay Keegan Murray down the road. Not only is it about what you're paying them right now, but like, what does your team look like? Are they going to be good enough to do this, or this? Can you move that player down the road? There's all of these variables that are in place. And so any deal to go get Kaminga, it's not just, that you got to work it out with Kaminga's people to get his price down. Then you got to work with the Warriors to get them something that they want in order to make the deal. And like, look, I know the Kings it's something like 2 second-round picks of what they're offering. At one point I had heard it was a protected first-round pick that they had offered. So like, maybe that's something that they come back to. And would the Warriors potentially look at like getting, a guy who was a 13th pick in the draft last year and sort of a contract that's kind of a throwaway in Dario Saric, but on top of that, getting a first-round pick down the road? Yeah, they would probably do that. Because there isn't a market for him. And that's the problem. So there's all of these forces sort of fighting against this deal happening. What the Warriors want, what the Kings want to give up, what the Kings can take back in a contract, what they have to give up in order to clear space to do that deal. Then on top of that, what Kaminga wants. And so there's all of these things that are kind of fighting against you. And the fact that there isn't a natural team out there with a bunch of cap space that you can involve as like a third team to dump a bunch of salary, that becomes another issue of this. So would the Kings still consider it? Yeah, they'd consider it. But again, they're not pinning all of their hopes for this season or the next 5 seasons on whether they can get Jonathan Kaminga or not.
Right.
It would just be a young player that you have that you like and has potential to be better than what he is today.
And it's the opposite. We talked about this with Brandon Ayuk last year with the 49ers. And loop some football in. The whole Brandon Ayuk trade thing, and the reason I never thought a trade was going to happen is because the Steelers are trying to get Brandon Ayuk because they thought they could get him for next to nothing. Like they were going to have to pay him, but they weren't going to have to give up any major asset to acquire him. And so they went, yeah, we'll pay him if we can get him without giving up Alex Highsmith or a first round pick or whatever it is. Like, cool. Yeah. If we can get him for that, we love him. That's how I think the Kings are viewing Kaminga. Like, we love him at 4-80 for Devin Carter, Dario Saric in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
We like him less at 4-100 and we're giving up Malik Monk. Like that's I think what we're kind of running into here is everything is about the value of that player. And because there are so many question marks about his value, it's not easy to just go, oh yeah, here's an easy contract comp. He's going to get this because he hasn't figured out a consistent role in Golden State. And a team acquiring him like the Kings go, yeah, we'd love to bet on him, but we're not going to bet our entire future on him.
Yeah.
We'll bet a little bit. So that's going to be, I don't think it's going away. All of the reporting coming out of Golden State is that this is not going away anytime soon. There's not going to be a resolution anytime soon.
Yeah, because they realistically have designed their team for him not to be there. Like they aren't really all that. From everything I've heard, they're not interested in bringing him back.
From anybody, they've been telling anyone with ears for 2 years.
Yeah,
they're not interested in having it.
Yeah, and that should be a bit of a concern. But again, we talked about this before. I think, a player in one system versus a player in a different system, they can look totally different. And and again, if you're looking at like, what is it that you want this player to be? Who do you want him to be? And the Warriors are so specific in what they want him to be. And and he's so animate that is not who he wants to be. So you have this dynamic that it doesn't matter. Like we hear this, he wants a new opportunity. Like realistically, that's what he wants. He it's not that he hates the Warriors or anything. He just looks at them and says, okay, they don't see who I am. Like everything
here revolves around Steph.
Yep.
And I don't want to do that. I want it to revolve around me. That's how I think he's viewing this.
I don't even know if I want it to revolve around me, but I want to be a bigger piece of the pie. I want to be a guy who's averaging 20 a game. I want to be a guy who's potentially up for an all-star bid. And you're not going to get that there, at least not for the next couple of years. And you could say, hey man, 3 years from now, 2 years from now, Steph already said he's going to take it, one contract at a time. He's got 2 years left on his deal. Maybe in year 3, you're going to get that opportunity if you just stick with us. But I don't think that that's what they're excited about. And he would only be 24 at that point. And that's where the Kings are like, okay, like we don't have someone who does what he does. And we don't have someone who's 22 who does what he does. Like that's a gamble that we could take because there's always going to be someone who will trade for Kyle Kuzma or Cam Johnson or John Collins. There's always going to be someone who will take on those contracts. So if you were to get Kaminga in that on a contract that's reasonable, like again, a 4-year 80, then it would make a lot of sense for the Kings because you're gambling on someone who actually has a track record, who's been in the league for 4 years, who has way more potential than what he's been allowed to do, but you don't know if it's going to be efficient and winning basketball.
If it doesn't work out in that case, you're not hamstrung by the contract.
No, you're exactly.
You're not loving it, but it's not, hey, we give this guy $30 million a year and it's tying up a bunch of cap space. And
what I want people to know out there is two things. Number one, the Kings can't just sign him to an offer sheet. They have no cap space.
They don't have it. And that is no team does.
Except for the Brooklyn Nets, and they have not moved on Kaminga at all.
No.
Okay. So that's
they haven't even moved on Cam Thomas, who's their own restricted free agent.
No, they haven't. So the Kings also have this thing where they could offer him the mid-level exception. And I know a lot of people out there are like, okay, well, first of all, he's not accepting that. He's not accepting that deal. And then this
He's
idea,
not signing that offer sheet.
yeah, that the Warriors will match that. They might match that deal because that puts him in the market as like a really undervalued, like you might be able to move him for some good stuff down the road. A 4-year 80, you don't have that same thing. The Warriors are going to balk at that. They don't want to pay him 4-year 80. So there isn't this thing where the Warriors are going to match any deal for him or anything like that. Like either he's going to play for the 7.9 million or they're going to come up with some really short-term deal here that might make sense for him. But like this is going to get even more awkward because you have two sides that realistically are looking for something different and would like to move on. They're just kind of stuck.
It is, I'm going to say funny because I don't have a better word for it. It is funny how badly Golden State has botched all this. They have been trying to keep from what they don't want is Steph Curry retires and they have nothing in the cupboard.
Yeah.
But what they also don't want is to just mail in Steph Curry's last couple of years here. But because of the first thing, they won't fully commit to the second thing. And so what they wind up doing is they're not quite mailing in Steph Curry's final years, but also they're not really committing to winning. They're not a championship contender. They're barely a playoff team. And they've done literally nothing to improve this offseason. So all they've done is got older. So they have these assets for the post-Steph era that in theory they could be giving up, but they won't because they want. And now they've landed in the middle.
Yeah, it's not a great place to be.
That's tough. I have a question about Summer League, and we'll hit this with the handoff with Damian Barling, which is coming up next. D'Lo and KC at noon. No KC, but D'Lo is still going to join us for the handoff. I have a question about Summer League. Is this as good as it's going to get for the Kings this year? We'll explore that next. He's James. I'm Kyle. That's Joe. We're the Insider Sports.